Hi everyone, we're going to go ahead and go over another one of our past big winners, which should have been a huge winner, but once again, in a QE environment, other signals haven't necessarily been trusted going into this year. 2011 and 2012 were rough years. The first 2 years I was ever down in my methodology. While the market was up, this created a lot of personal conflicts with my own trading methodology as we worked out what we were doing right and what we were doing wrong. It all started to make sense, but unfortunately, by the time we started to get, hot setups like FLT, I showed you that one earlier in 2012, it didn't really petter out. LQDT was another great signal in late 2012. Then finally at the end of 2012, we got HEES. HEES was a beauty. On its signal date, you can see via the blue line that pops up here, it's a pocket pivot point signal. As it breaks out of this well-formed cup with handle pattern, the cup is well formed. Why? Because there's a lot of green accumulation and green bop on the right side. As it makes the left side of its base, volume is very low, contracts to a very dried up point in the middle. Then as we make a right side, volume starts to accumulate quite nicely. Also, HEES has some fundamental growth and future estimates that indicate we have a good stock here. Beautiful chart on a Zoom 4, beautiful chart on a Zoom 3. Unfortunately, though, because of the way things were going, this was only 2% of my account value. Sorry, everybody. Interactive Brokers likes to make a lot of noise in the background. My apologies. So HEES triggered a signal here. How did you know it was going to be good? Because immediately on the first day it works. So that's a great sign. That's what we normally want to see. We got a pocket pivot point signal. We got a surge in BOP to max green. And we got a big volume surge in price breakout of a very tight price range here on September 4th. September 5th follow through. And then on September 6th, I got another ad signal. BOP is still max green, has now been max green for 3 days. Volume is well above average for 3 days. Look at volume. This looks like a great breakout. Look at the weekly of the cup with handle, the 3-day cup with handle, the daily cup with handle. This is an extremely nice chart. However, on the ad signal, the unfortunate thing there is that once again, we're having difficulty with our methodology. There isn't a whole lot of conviction. So once again, it's only a 2% position, but now we have 4% of our account value in HEES. And it starts to perform great. It then gives another ad signal. What's different this time? Another pocket pivot point signal. Everything looks beautiful. It looks like it's going to work, right? BOP isn't still at max green. That's about the only hint I had that maybe we shouldn't have loaded up on this one. But on 9/19, once again, we got another signal, another 2%. So now we have 6% of our account capital in HEES. Unfortunately, after initially working, HEES failed that signal. So by failing this signal, we sold off all of that signal, leaving us back with only 4% position. As it pulled back further, it then had this down day. This down day then caused me to go ahead and remove 25% of the position. The reason why it wasn't more is because we had the bullish tail right at support and BOP went back up to green. Then we found support finally in HEES. The unfortunate part about this, though, is that it took us from this breakout here being 6% long HEES to us being about 3% long HES. If this breakout would have worked, price would have consolidated sideways, and then it would have started to trend up again. We would have 6% of our position in this stock, and then even from our third buy, we're now up 7%, looking good to go. HES then climbs very well, trends above the 50-day moving average. Everything looks good. We get another pocket pivot point signal along the way, tells us it's healthy. And then on 1-2, we get a pocket pivot point signal for HEES. This one was only a 1% signal by me because I could not believe that the market did what the market did. Up 3% in 1 day on big volume. I was kind of surprised by this, caught off guard, and after 2011, 2012, I don't feel like really getting big. And this is also why we had another signal at this time, which I just reviewed my records. We went long HTA on this day, putting only 1% of our account capital. That's how screwed up we were going into 2013 when things finally started to get back on track. Only 1% went in that one. And on the next day, HTA, again, max green BOP, big volume surge, pocket pivot point signal, closing at the high of the day, only up 2% over its 50-day moving average. And what do? We only add 1%. So we'll get back to that one here in a little bit. But HEES, as you can see from that add-on signal, the pocket pivot point signal, boom, worked immediately. So how do you think I felt about only putting 1% of my account capital in it? Exactly. And from there on out, HEES just trended ever so beautifully higher. Now, how we're watching HEES act is how stocks used to act back before 2008 whenever I would go along the signals that you saw in September. This one was a rarity. So with it closing below the 50-day moving average here on heavy volume, obviously this was a sell signal. But by this time, since our first signal to the day before, HES, we had over a 50% gain. So we're not going to sell a whole bunch of it till we get confirmation sell below the 50. This day right here turned out to be a very bullish day with the big intraday reversal. You can see that volume was huge on this day. Not only was it huge, you can see that we closed higher than where we opened, and overall it looked very, very good. And as you will see, if you go back through the website, we did not sell any because we took 25% off here. Was not a 50% sell signal because, like I told you, we had a 50% gain. This was a bullish reversal with a 50% plus gain. We can wait for another real ugly down day below the 50-day moving average. We did not get that, and instead it was able to retake its 50-day moving average. It took time, but it never went below these lows here. It held the April lows and retook the 50-day moving average. And from there on out, HEES began another very clear uptrend higher. So as HEES is going up here, everything looks good. We get another close below the 50-day moving average, and once again, it's only going to be a 25% sell. Why? Because going into it, we now have over a 100% gain, which means we don't need to sell any more than what we needed to. As you can see here, over a 100% gain. So this also is a 25% sell signal. HEES then fails to go any lower, starts to go higher again, and now it's off to the races for HEES. We get no sell signals on this move below the 50-day moving average because there's no heavy volume sell-offs and weak close, and HEES trends higher again. And look at it just go. Now here it's closing below the 50-day moving average on heavy volume. Now let's look at how much we are up from our initial long signal back in September. As you can see, we are now up 200%. This now means that we don't have to sell any with a close below the 50-day moving average. We can wait for a confirmation sell-off. What we get here on HEES after that is we can wait for a confirmation sell-off, and we don't have to sell any. So here, right here, HEES closes below the 50-day moving average. It has another down day, but on below average volume. Now, as you can see here off this low, it doesn't ever go below that low on heavier volume. It has below average volume the entire way as it then remakes a base. Why wasn't a sell here on the above average volume sell off below the 50-day moving average? Because we did not close below the low of 33.50, closing at 33.77. Now HEES retakes its 50-day moving average and is going higher again. Everything looks good for HEES until finally when the market starts to look bad. When the market actually started to look toppy, now I get a signal below the 50-day moving average I'm worried about. Why am I worried about this one more than any other one per se? Because the 50 and 200-day moving average, after years of not being able to really converge and then getting a big sell-off below the 50-day moving average, has its first year where it converges from the beginning of the uptrend with a 50-day moving average heavy break on very heavy volume. So right there is a big sell signal. We don't sell at all. We sell 50% of HEES. Boom. Right here, we get another sell signal. I don't even know if I sold any then. I want to see if I did on 10-7. I have to now check my diary. I didn't check the very end of this stuff. 10-7, I did. Okay, so boom, here, 10-1. Did I sell here on 10-1? HEES. I did. HEES was a sell here, 50% sell right here, and then right here was another 50% sell according to my records. And now I know for a fact I basically had zero of HEES left. 10 shares, 11 shares, I can't quite remember, but it was basically nothing compared to what we did have. 2 days later, right here it looks like on the 8th, got a big bounce support. It's going to move higher, but the very next day, the final kill shot, the close below the 200-day moving average, That's the final sell signal. That's when HEES was completely sold off. It crashed the very next day. Very prudent final sell. However, since then it has come back, and who knows if it's going to reset up again or not. But we are done with HEES. And the point is, from that very first signal to the tippy tip top before it all ended, HES was able to give us right around a 250% gain. And even if you held it and you waited all the way to that 200-day moving average crack, you were still able to leave with a 189% gain. And then if you even waited one more day later, you would have had a 167% gain. But overall, a very successful buy and hold stock, and that's how they used to act before 2008 and how they're very rarely acting now post 2008. However, as you can just see earlier, this is what we need to look for. You want to look for patterns that are green like this. When you get nice green patterns like this, you know that you need to go long. And as you can see here by just looking at everything, this was a very, very bullish looking chart. Study the volume here, the heavy volume on the right side, the heavy volume in the green on the uptrend, the previous uptrend, the no volume on the downside, the left side, and the lack of red bop overall on the base. This is an ideal